People are looking for something real. God is looking for someone real. Be real. Live from the Be Real Lounge. You're with us in the lounge. Your hosts, Daniel Lewis and Brother Brad Haynes. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, brother.
You doing good?
I'm doing great.
Me too, man.
Thankful for another day.
Yeah.
All the time.
Pretty cool, even when there's a bunch of snow on the ground.
It is.
It's been
piled up, man.
Been pretty wild, hasn't it?
It has been really wild, but I mean, we've been kind of blessed that we hadn't had a snow and then it all come at one time.
Yeah. It's always fun.
I hate hearing the reports. I think 25 or more people now have lost their lives as this storm has went through. The Mid-Atlantic all the way up the coast, up into New York and Maine and all that. And I hate hearing that stuff. You just never know. About, we got a little simple, we didn't get a simple snow, but we got a snow around here. The power stayed on.
Yeah, I think.
Got about 8 inches at my house.
Yeah.
And you just don't realize what else is going into the world until you catch those news reports and then somebody actually lost their life.
Right.
And it just kind of blows my mind. So I just, just
kind
thinking
of
about
puts
those.
it all in perspective, doesn't it?
It does. And you kind of wonder what happened, but then it doesn't really matter what happened. It's those people still lost their lives. And I just, I hope that they knew the Lord, and I hope it wasn't, anything torturous or anything. It's really sad. So it's a little, kids out there sledding in the snow, and you really don't think about, somebody lost their life over this.
Right.
So quite a few people. So anyway, just
man,
hearts out to the families.
It's always, this time of year, man, is always a rough pull until spring. You just start to kind of get winter weary and with the cold and everything. So hopefully, man, we can have some fun in here today.
Yeah.
And kind of just be light and, have fun.
Be real.
Be some kind of light, man, and just kind of a winter weary world.
I never know where he's going to take it.
No, you really don't know.
I want to. What I'd like to do one day is, and I really don't want to plan it out, but I'm going to just kind of surprise you with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to, as soon as I get out of my vehicle out here, I'm going to start recording.
Cool.
And we'll just record all the way up.
We need to.
And we'll just see where it goes with that recording, and then we'll just throw it on here as a behind the scenes. This is what happens leading up to the show.
That's really cool. I think you definitely should, because man, I mean, I'm feeling stupid again today, and I didn't have anything, and then once again we talk so much.
Golly.
And then you get here and it's like I said before we came, well, good show, man. Time to
good show.
Do
time to do the show
else, man. And on that one time, I'm gonna force us, man, not to talk, not to say one word, and come up here and just whatever happens.
I don't know if that's possible or not. But
I don't think it hasn't seemed to be possible up till now.
We always say that. We're like, not going to say anything. This is hey, how you doing? Grab some coffee, get some water, go to the restroom real quick, and then just shoot up here and start doing the show. But it never happens. We get into these long, drawn out conversations, and we're digging through the Word and talking about life and just the show.
I know.
We could have had probably 50 or 60 shows put on YouTube by now, just by what we talk about, even eating lunch. And it's pretty in depth stuff. I think a lot of the stuff. I don't know if it would be. I don't know. We're going to have to try that. We're just going to have to film. We're just going to have to film it. We're going to have to audio record it. Can't even think of the word. We're just going to have to record it and throw it on there and see what folks think. Because we really get into some stuff that, I mentioned a lot of stuff to you that I don't mention on Be Real. It's not because I don't want to.
Sure.
It's really, I don't know. Right. If you're in the Word and you're talking to somebody else that's in the Word, in the Word.
Yeah.
You get into these really deep conversations that where you wouldn't really speak to somebody else about it that don't know the Word, because then they would think you're lunatic. Or
I know what you mean.
They wouldn't understand.
Yeah, I'd like to get into some of that today.
Yeah.
People might think that we're lunatic, but you you had said that, man. I don't know why I want to even talk about this now, but some people have said to me along the way, why don't you're putting it on YouTube? Why don't you film it? And I have a digital camera, man, that I got in 2000. I started loading up videos in 2000, man.
Yeah.
I was doing that then. There's a reason why we're not doing that. I actually, man, really like the stuff on YouTube that's just radio stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just catering to people. We're catering
I couldn't stand
like
to watch it, really. I mean, unless the camera was on you the whole time or something. I just really don't want to see myself.
I don't really want to do that.
I don't either.
And I think that this is a lot more powerful.
It is.
We're not going with the masses on it. I think that people are going to get so tired of all of the stuff on YouTube at some point that they're going to want something that they can just listen to. I already do. I go for the just plain audio myself. I like the music.
I enjoy it because
like
when we're talking and we're doing the show, I actually think about those folks that are driving down the road listening. Yeah. You can't watch a video driving down the road. And if we do something crazy or you hear something, you want to see it. So then you'll not be driving. You'll be wanting to watch the video. Also, and there's a time and place for watching videos and stuff like that. I'm not saying they're bad.
No.
But, our show is just more of a...
We're radio guys.
It's kind of what we was talking about earlier before the show.
Yeah.
The Bible. Yeah. The Bible wasn't in movie format. The Bible's not in audio format. Of course, people have read it, and you can listen to it in audio format, but it's in... The Word is the Word.
He did it like that for a reason.
Yeah, and it gets in... When you're reading it, it actually gets inside of you.
Yeah.
Just like any book, but this is a living Word that actually gets inside of you. And so I think our show, just thinking about it now, being audio, somebody can sit it beside their bed, listen to it at night while they're laying there and go off to sleep to it, or just think about it. It's kind of, they're just like radio. It's inside. You're kind of picturing what they're talking about. You're picturing what they look like.
Yeah.
Just being when I was on the radio for 8 years, and you being on the radio, I used to meet so many people that go, "You look nothing like what I thought you did."
Yeah.
Because they never saw me. They just heard my voice.
And I think that's
cool.
I love radio and the power of it, and the fact that this isn't about me, so I don't want to get in the way of what we're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a powerful medium with that. And that is neat. Once you actually see a person, then you put their face with their voice forever.
Yeah.
But before I met you, I'd heard you, didn't know exactly what you look like, had a different concept. And remember when the lunch lady came in while we were live on the show and was saying that she thought I was a biker, had a big long gray beard and she was
Biker Brad.
I mean, she was literally like shocked to the core. She was like, I can't believe that this is you. Like, I thought you were a biker with a long gray beard. So it's pretty funny, isn't it? How all that works
it really
out. But I just want to say that because we're not just flying by the seat of our pants. We're radio guys. We want to keep this radio no matter how the world changes. This is what we do. So we're just doing it the way that we do. And I think it's powerful. And
this is what he put us in.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how we met. This is, what we've been called to do. And it's just, it's amazing.
It is, man.
I really just want to do whatever whatever his will is, and it just, and it's something I enjoy. I love to do, and it just lines right up. I never thought I'd be, in
me neither.
Any of doing anything. I mean, it just
me neither, man.
Graded plywood and shipped boxes for a living, and next thing you know, it was he just led me as I started seeking him. He just led me into this category. I still don't think I have a voice for it, but I mean, he's thrown me into it, and so
you got a great voice for it. But I mean, you saying that, I don't know exactly how you first did get into radio. Like how was that, man?
It's I worked on websites and worked on computers and stuff, and the radio station was hiring for somebody to do their website.
Right.
And I went up there and started. Applied for the job, showed them what I could do, and then they come up to me actually the same day and needed an afternoon DJ.
Cool.
The station manager was actually doing it, and he wanted to get out of doing it, even though he was awesome.
Sure.
And he was a DJ at many different FM stations in Florida, but he needed time to do his job. So he goes, "Hey, you want to get some more hours?" Sure. So I've never done anything like this. Hey, this guy will show you how to do it. And I said, well, never This is kind of weird. I mean,
Cool.
I was nervous.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe it.
That was about 9 years ago or something?
Yeah.
Cool.
2006.
Right.
Somewhere in, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was the end of 2000. It's October 2006, actually. So
Well,
it was
that's
almost
cool.
10. Almost 10.
I think
And
I got into it kind of in a weird way too, like that, I guess, end of 2010 and to 11. And it was after Bible Fest and stuff, had done radio stuff with you, coverage over that and different stuff. And then they had a dude that was preaching, and he stopped doing it, and they had kind of an opening, and we started talking about that, and I felt called to preach, and it was kind of, well, you can have that spot if you get a sponsor, and then
everything lined right
all of
up.
that fell into place, and I
Yeah.
started preaching and did that for, I guess, 3 or 4 years before me, and you did
Be
Real.
It's true when all this stuff kind of falls into place without you even doing anything.
Yeah.
That's why I know that, it's nothing out of anything we've ever done.
Nothing, man.
It's just really weird how all that stuff falls into place. And I try to never forget that. I get so, I guess you could say, comfortable in doing what I'm doing, that when a new door opens, I'm kind of like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But then I have learned to sit back and go, the only reason that the door's open is because of him.
Yeah.
And I try to stay so thankful and so humble and content.
Yeah.
And I'm happy, but he's always doing something else. I mean, it's just, it's not really, there's some small things in my life here recently that he's worked through. He's the big things in my life. They've become big things. They look like small things, but they actually have become really big things. And, I'm just so thankful for that too. I'm thankful for him. He's always working. And sometimes those things are really not that good. I've been going through a really good season here for a while. And, so I'm not worried. I have faith in what he has for me, but I've been through those bad seasons too. What I consider bad, my flesh considers bad, but I've actually grown in those bad seasons tremendously more than I have in the good seasons. But it kind of worries me that when everything's going good, then you really know that there's going to be some more trials coming on and stuff like that. Or it's not going to be as popular with you.
I know exactly.
I don't really know how to explain it. It's just kind of one of them. It's a trip.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And
fine cars and fancy homes, like I've mentioned before, are not a part of the Christian lifestyle. You can read the Bible, and it, he blesses you, of course. I mean, he'll bless you, but I mean, how to be a better you, that ain't the way it is. It's how to have him and him in you and running your life. I mean, you're bondservant.
Yeah.
Welcome to the bondservants here with Brad and Daniel.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just,
that's right.
Nothing that we have ever done, ever, or doing, or going to do. He finds glory in anything in the rocks.
Well,
and I read something the other day. I don't mean to.
No.
Go ahead.
Rock on, man.
I just started thinking about it. But I read something the other day, and I thought about it, and I was like, I've always put that in different perspective. But I think I mentioned it on the last show or the show before last, where I was talking about, he didn't die for the squirrels, he didn't die for the possums, he died for us. He died for us. And then by me saying that, I never thought that, when I say that, I'm making us worthy. Like the squirrels and the possums are unworthy of him dying for. Actually, he didn't have to die for the squirrels and the possums because they have not sinned. They're his creation, but they haven't sinned. The reason he died for us is because we're sinners. We need him. We need him, but he died for us because we are unworthy. And so I just want to translate that out there. I've never thought about that before in that perspective, and I just read about it. It's weird because I just had mentioned it a couple of weeks ago or on the last show. I just had mentioned that same phrase, and I said, I never thought of it like that, that, we're not worthy. That's why he died for us, because we're not worthy. And the way I was saying it was like, he didn't die for the squirrels because we're worthy humans. No, we are most unworthy.
Yeah.
We're they're the creation. They're the ones, like Romans says, the creation is crying out for a redemption of the earth, an all new earth, so it can get back the way it was created to be. We're the ones that sinned and screwed all this up. Mm-hmm. We screwed all this up. And so we are unworthy. And he died. That just shows his unconditional love, to die for something so unworthy.
Yeah.
Just like Jesus said, going into Jerusalem, he could raise these stones up if he wanted to.
Yeah. Well, that's back to the point that I've preached my guts out on, man, which is how can we truly accept a Savior unless we realize our need for one?
Yes.
And that's the realization that you have issues, and that no matter how hard you try, somehow you can't seem to get it right. And that's the start of seeking Jesus in a real way. But when
even trying,
yeah,
I mean even trying.
But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's what most people do. That's the paradox that we find ourselves in. Well, since I can't ever be worthy, I'm just not going to try.
Yeah.
And no, then you've missed the whole point on that way.
Right.
And
just you even trying is showing that there's something there.
Yeah.
Just you even going, God, I know I need you.
Yeah.
There is something that should show you, because believe me, there's a lot of people out there that could care less.
Yeah,
that is the farthest from their mind. They ain't even thinking about anything about following Jesus or my life or eternity or any of that stuff. They're so consumed with the world, they could care less.
And themselves.
And so by you seeking and having that in you going, I need Jesus. I need something real. I need something real. That should show you that you're on the right path. That's seeking.
It is.
That's the the seed getting planted, and you going, I'm growing.
It is, and then not deceiving yourself to think that because you're trying that you're gonna get it all right.
That's it.
But not
You're never going to get it right.
But not letting that realization negate your trying.
That's it.
See, that's the tricky place that we find ourselves in. And I'd written down, man, I think that the issue with all of us, man, with me, with all of our problems, is our own expectations about what we're going to be or do or what we want to have happen. And the times when I'm the most unhappy are when I'm looking at my expectations. The times that I'm most happy and feel the peace is when I've dumped out what I want, and I really want to just do what he wants, and I really just want to find that in a real way.
Just be real.
And that's
that's our point.
And that's the other thing. Man, can I say this, and it might launch us into some other talk. I'm getting pretty excited now. When you had said all that stuff about the animals, one of those, you had recommended a few movies for me to watch, and I watched them, and I would really love to talk in that way about some of them. But one of the things that I was thinking about when you said that about the squirrels and that they haven't sinned and everything, as I was watching that Mad Max movie and seeing them like fight and kill each other over these resources, I thought about this, man. A buck doesn't go out and kill another buck for getting in his territory. Like maybe in a fight that might happen, but it's really rare. I hadn't run across too many dead bucks stabbed by another buck. I really have. I've never run across it in my life out in the woods. So they just they say, I'm stronger, so get out of here. And that's it. And the other one's like, yeah, you are stronger. I'm gone. I'll go to. Why can't we do that with each other? Why can't we just, men lock horns and say, okay, I can't take these resources. He's stronger, and just walk away. That's the fall of mankind. That's where we're different. We're not like the animals, man. We're going to get revenge. We're like, he put me in my place. He's stronger than me, so I'm going to go and kill him. I'm going to take all of his stuff. And if you don't see that that's the fall of man, then you need to see it, because that's what's going on. We actually could. I'm not saying we wouldn't have confrontation with people, but it would be like Peter and Paul. They locked horns, man. They had their little buck standoff, and that was it. And Paul was shown to be in the right, and he was shown to be stronger at the time, and Peter ended up getting in line with it.
Yeah.
So why can't we just do that? Well, because we're fallen creatures, but it doesn't mean that we can't try, and that if we're not in the Holy Spirit, that he's going to work it out just like he did with Peter and Paul, and it's not going to be some issue. You know what I mean?
It's amazing how much hate and bitterness fester inside of us when we're away from the Lord like that. I mean, I still have battles with that. I mean, the instant, and we've talked about it before, somebody pulls out in front of me, it's like, yeah. I mean, on the way here today, it's a test battle for me. I had somebody just right on my rear end. I mean, just chewing, eating me up. And the whole time I'm looking in the rearview mirror, I'm like, I just wanted to hit the brakes or do something. I wanted to react to their action.
Yeah.
And I eat it all the way here. And I was just like, I'm just going to focus on you. So I just looked ahead, didn't look in my rearview mirror, didn't pay no attention to what they're doing. And I just focused on him and just started praying and thanking him. And, Lord, help us through the show, and just don't let it be me that speaks, but you speak through me. And, just all, it's a hard thing, but with him, it goes. I mean, you can do it with him. But me, I just want to, cuss somebody, pull over and go, what?
Well, what's wild is sometimes he takes you down that road where you don't say anything. And I've actually sometimes, it happened in a parking lot to me one time. I pulled over, I got out of my vehicle, not to go and smash the person's face or anything, but I just stopped and say, hey, do we have some kind of problem here?
Yeah.
And the dude was so befuddled, that, and I was like, well, it seemed like you got a problem, and I just wanted to see if I could help you with whatever issue is going on here.
Yeah.
If we need to talk about it like men, we can do that. And his wife's like, let's just shut up. Let's get out of here. And it went away real quick. Yeah. And it wasn't in my youth, man. Before, I would make big mistakes. One time I was at Myrtle Beach, man, with my mom in this little Datsun pickup that I had. And this is kind of embarrassing. I'm a fool. And I'm thankful that I'm not like this, but someone was being really nasty and ended up giving my mom the finger as I'm driving and saying something nasty to her.
Yeah.
And I kind of went in rage mode, dude. And they went into a McDonald's drive-through, and I got out. My mom was like, "You're going to get killed, Brad." And I just went up, and I wasn't as tactful at that point. I was probably 19 or something, and it was at the drive-through, and everyone in the restaurant could hear what I was saying to the person through the drive-through.
Wow.
In there, like if you're in there, you can hear the orders. They could hear it. So
especially if you're loud.
A bunch of people started coming out from the restaurant to see what was going on, and it was really stupid. And don't ever do something like that. That actually had no good results at all. Made me look stupid.
I'm even laughing about it. See, that really bothers me even when
it's just,
I mean,
you're
it's
laughing
funny,
at me.
but it's in my flesh, that shouldn't be really.
Well, it's actually good if you learn something from it. Now, if I was still doing stuff like that today, it would be a problem. But if you can actually look back on something that you did when you're like, wow, I really was off base.
There's a lot in my life with that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can really look back. But dude, again, I'm not against godly confrontation either. Like, I think that a lot of times we don't deal with each other one-on-one, and then we stab each other in the back. And
That's true.
I'm way more against that than I am just taking a man side by side. If I got a problem with someone, man, the thing is this. Anybody that knows me, they know where I stand. It's like, well, is Brad mad at me? Well, has Brad told you he is? No. Well, then he ain't.
Yeah.
See, if we could all be like that with each other, you know what I'm saying? But we never are honest with one another.
No, we just walk away and don't even say nothing. Just try to avoid the person and fester and tell everybody else about it. And then you always hear it secondhandly.
Yeah.
If you're in a work environment or anything like that, they always go and tell everybody else, and then they come up to you and I think they're mad at you. Instead, it just, golly.
It's horrible. We're supposed to deal with that stuff one-on-one.
It's drama, and that's why reality TV is sales.
Yeah.
Because people love it. We even like the drama.
One-on-one always works. I've never really had an experience. Sometimes it doesn't go exactly the way that I want, but if you go one-on-one with people, it doesn't lead into that bitterness most of the time. It literally, you're kind of able to work it out man to man. It's when you have the crowd looking in that everybody's pride gets on the line, and that people start doing things that they wouldn't do one-on-one. And so
people start assuming and everything.
Jesus and the disciples just dealt with their issues.
That's it.
So there's going to be problems in life. There's going to be confrontation, but, it's all about how we handle it, and then, sometimes a buck runs another buck off. That's okay. But the problem is if the other buck comes back with a machine gun instead of his horns,
wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Animals don't do that, do they?
No, they don't.
But in Mad Max,
Plot and
that's
revenge.
all they did, wasn't it?
Oh man, it was just it was a kill factory. It was just whatever, fighting for whatever.
Yeah.
just a fight most of the time.
It's kind of the way that our society is now, man. Just fighting over limited resources and all this mess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always backbiting and everything the Lord described us in the Bible as, it's going to come from the heart. It comes from man's heart. That's why we need that new heart from Him.
Yeah.
And to focus and stay totally focused on Him. How do you do that? You get into the Word.
And trust Him.
Have that faith in Him. You can move mountains. I mean, I'm serious.
Well,
it's amazing.
It really, there's
He
nothing.
is amazing. It ain't no it's Him. It's all about Him. The whole thing is about Him.
And then everything else just falls right into place.
It really
One
does.
little step at a time.
Yeah, whether it's good or bad, it still falls into place. But when those bad things happen, you know how to handle it. And when those good things happen, you'll know how to handle it. And it's simply because of Him, not because of you. I mean, it's like it'll blow your mind because it's like I never would have handled it that way. I would have never handled it that way.
That's right.
And it's hard to see that because you want to handle it. As soon as something happens, you want to jump out at the drive-through and say something.
Yeah.
It's you react to the reaction.
Yeah.
And He's totally different than that. The Lord speaks a totally different way. And it's
lean not on your own understanding.
Yeah.
Once again,
but it comes out for the best for everybody. You didn't hurt nobody, or physically or mentally.
Yeah.
Mental abuse, and you let it go.
Yeah.
If you actually forgive them, it'll actually you let it go, and He's there, and you. And it in your flesh, you're like, man, I got to get revenge. I mean, you just feel it. You just got to do something. You got to do something. And I've had so many instances to where I've wanted just to do something, just to say a little bit of something, which was kind of being just it would hurt them.
Just a little dig.
Just a little bit of, comment back to them. Just, that's still Christian. I can just say that little comment. That ain't bothering nobody. But then most of the time it's Daniel, shut up.
Yeah.
Just shut up. Just, bite your tongue, walk away, smile. And there's a couple of weeks ago I had that going on. I don't know if I'm ever going to speak on that, what happened up there, but he taught me in that lesson that I learned in Richmond also. And it was just to trust in Him, to have full faith and trust in Him, going against the advice of friends and everything. And I totally trusted in Him, and it was not easy. I'm not saying, I'm master over it. And
Sure.
It was not a good situation. I had anxiety. I mean, it was bad for a whole day, 3 hours of sleep, and anxiety, it'll wear a person so super thin. And it was really bad, but He strengthened me. He really did. And I had one of the best weeks I've had this year after I got through all that, and I learned from it. And that meant more to me than anything. I was like, thank you, Lord. I hated that I had to go through that. And it was physically and mentally exhausting, but I learned so much that, He is dependable. He's all my hope. He is everything.
Yeah.
He's everything. And I already knew that, but I got to be awakened. I'm so idiot that I have to be slapped around most of the time to be reminded that really everything depends on Him and where He's going to take me. And He is in the driver's seat.
It's all the days ordained, so He's working that out, man. It reminded me, and I'm not saying that,
I don't want to cut you up, but you got to cut you off there, but you got a stink bug on your water bottle, and I don't want you taking a drink and eating him.
I hate
He's
these
right on the lip.
Stupid things, man.
Yeah, he would.
Whoever, however they came in.
That water's a little crunchy.
I can't stand the smell of them. It makes me disgusting, sick. But
you imagine having one in your mouth,
dude. I couldn't. I haven't done that yet, and hopefully it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But this isn't like a biblical model. But since we're talking about this stuff, remember when we were having that conversation, and I said I had been watching that '70s show, and Old Red gave some real wise advice, like Hyde and Eric were having some kind of problem, and he said, "Are y'all willing to go out in the yard and bare knuckle box?"
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, you're fighting, so let's go out and bare knuckle brawl out in the yard and figure it out." And they were like, "Well, we don't want to do that." And he's like, "Then you're not upset, you're not mad." And see, if we would actually be that real with ourselves, and I'm not saying to go out and bare knuckle, but to get that right with your feelings, to say, would I really be willing to go toe to toe with this person? If the answer is yes, then you have to deal with that anger right then and whatever you're going through and work that out. If the answer, which 99.9% is going to be no, this isn't worth me getting my face scarred over. So if that's really the way that you feel, then you got to stop being passive aggressive and say, I'm really not even upset about this, and just be right with yourself and just move on, and forgive them and let it go. It's like Solomon said, don't get upset when you hear somebody talking bad about you. Yeah. He said, because you know yourself that you've done the exact same thing to them.
Exactly.
And if we're all honest, we all should just let each other off the hook with all that stuff. And just if you hear somebody talking smack about you, just let it go. They don't mean it. You know that you yourself have talked smack about other people.
Yep.
So if we all got right with that, and then when you have that realization, you feel convicted and you don't want to talk smack about people because you're like, well, it kind of hurt me when I heard they were talking about me, but I know I've done the same thing. So I'm going to let them go on their smack talking, and I'm going to try and limit my smack talking. And then we're moving forward.
That's it. But and our Maker knows us, and we have His Word. And Jesus equates anger to murder.
He does,
and it's a sin. Anybody knows that murder's a sin.
It's
I've never murdered anybody. Yes, you have in your heart. You've been angry with somebody. That's the way the Lord looks at it. He's just. He made us, and final answer from God.
Period.
And so also Jesus says that those who sin are a slave to sin.
That's right.
So you're a slave to sin. If you're sinning, you're a slave to this sin.
You have to fight it.
And it's a bad thing to be a slave to sin.
It
Very
is.
bad. I mean, it's once again, the bitterness is all in you. It's in your heart. It ruins your life.
It does.
That person or that object or whatever the sin is has control over you. A slave means that something has control over you.
And this is the powerful point about all this, man. The deal with forgiveness is they don't owe you anything. There's no debt. It's where you say, this person does not owe me anything. Mm-hmm. And then you intercede in prayer to God for them, and you say, they hurt me. Don't hold that sin against them. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't mean it. Anything that you would hold against them on my account, let it go.
That's it.
And then let it go and walk on. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to hang out with the person. There's nothing biblically that say you got to keep letting that person stab you in the back. But you can't expect that they owe you something, and you have to turn it over and let vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Trust that He saw what went on, and He's going to take care of it in His time, in His way. And you know what? He will.
Oh, yes.
He will.
I mean, golly, what did Jesus do? What did He say on the cross? Forgive them, for they know not what they do.
And that's exactly what Stephen said.
Innocent blood.
Yeah.
Innocent blood.
That's right.
Says that.
And then the Holy Spirit comes on Stephen, and he says the exact same thing. So my point in this is, if you're led by the Holy Spirit, that's what you're going to do.
That's it.
The Holy Spirit is going to say, you know you've done it too, so just let them go. Pray, intercede for them. They owe you nothing. Move on. And then you're free, and you can enjoy your life.
You can. That's when pure joy and peace and that relationship is between you and God.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing that really matters. All these other little relationships, they're great.
Yeah.
They're great. But the Creator, God, the Almighty, the Creator of the universe, everything, He wants a relationship with you. And when you have this unforgiveness, you have this bitterness, you have this anger, you have this murder, this envy, this covetousness, all this stuff in your heart, which we do have, He's paid for on the cross through His Son, Jesus Christ, to have that relationship, to wipe all that stuff away. And when we still hold on to all that stuff, it hurts our relationship with Him. And so we cannot have that joy that He wants us to have, that the reason He died on the cross for us to have. And we still put those little blockades up. It's like a roadblock.
Yeah.
We can't go down the road any further, Lord, because I got this speed bump in the way. I got this big old pile of snow. I don't have four-wheel drive that I can't get over.
Yeah.
And He's like, I've cleared the way.
I know, man.
You've put the block there. You piled the snow up. You done it.
Yep.
You know, it's a clear shot. It's a clear way. And I've made it for you, and it's so easy and it's so simple. And you've put this block in. And so I've had to go back to this so many times, and I know I will, that I have to go back to what does it really matter? All this stuff is temporary. He is the only thing that's eternal. Does my relationship with anybody else, especially the one that's done something to me, or I felt like they've done something to me, so I got to get back at them, is that relationship with them more important than my relationship with Jesus Christ? Is it? I mean, I love him more than I have love for my family. And I have no bitterness or anger with them, so I'm going to put somebody else that I have anger and bitterness ahead of him? That relationship, I care about that relationship so much. I want vengeance so much. I want to do something so much to them, but I'm hurting my relationship with Jesus Christ.
And the tricky place that
grieving the Spirit.
The tricky place that we're in with all this, Daniel, is that the stuff that is not seen, just like when Jesus is talking to the Pharisees and he's saying on the outside you look clean, but inside you're dead man's bones. See, envy and greed and jealousy and anger and all of these other manifestations that we all feel all the time inside, they never deal with. See, nobody sees those. So like the Pharisee, we can hide all that and on the outside, but I ain't a drinking and a smoking. Okay, but see, you got something that is hurting. He said what you take in isn't the problem. It's what comes out.
That's it.
That what enters a man doesn't make him unclean, but what comes out of a man. So we've messed up, man, and we're not working on the things that come out of us, but yet we're saying, look, just like the Pharisees, but I'd wash my hands before I eat.
That's it.
And we've made it about these external, where Paul says the kingdom of God is not a matter of what you eat or what you drink or what you wear. He said, are about ceremonial washings or about these things. He says it's about your heart. Mm-hmm. And see, that's the gospel, and we'll proclaim it, you know, and wake people up, because it doesn't matter about the outside, man. It matters about the inside. And when the inside gets right, the outside starts to conform.
That's it.
In that way too, man. But
and
it drives me nuts.
And once again, these Pharisees and these scribes were so concerned about what men saw. Everything you read about in the Gospels, they're all concerned about. When they fasted, they made their face up to make it look like they fasted. They had to wear the good robes. They had to pray on the street corners. They had these long prayers in the middle of their congregations. They had to say the right words and say them right. They were all concerned about what men saw. And that is not what Jesus preached. Jesus preaches what God sees. God sees the inside. He knows, hey, on the outside, these guys might look righteous, and they look really good, and they put themselves way up, and they're the first places, they're in the top seats of when they have places to eat and all this good stuff. They're highly favored among men. But where are they sitting with God? They're on their way to hell.
Would they still do it if men didn't see it?
Exactly. And God wants to know that. And that's what God does know. There's no hiding from God. God knows you. I'm telling you what, he knows me, and he knows them, and he knows all these folks. And so my relationship, you might see me and you go, that's Daniel right there. And he's doing the Be Real, and he's reading the Bible, and you expect maybe these things, and he ain't going to do this, and he ain't going to do that. And secretly, I'm doing all these things. Right. God knows this.
He does.
I'm not worried about you. I could tell you I used to smoke some marijuana. Right. I used to tell you I used to drive drinking, and I wrecked one time, and I could have killed some folks.
Right.
And I used to do all these things. I've been in jail. I ain't worried about telling anybody any of this stuff because I've come clean with God. Me and God have a relationship. I could care less what other people think about me. It's between me and him.
And Daniel,
I'm not trying to look righteous between anybody. In front of anybody.
This is the point that has to come out in this. Somebody could listen to that. Well, he was on the road to hell. He was off base. He was sinning. Are you working as hard against your greed and your envy and the things like that? Because that's what is coming out of you. See, I'm not saying that those things that you were doing were right. I'm not saying that at all. But what we do is we hold you up as an example that's the UnChristian life.
Yeah.
But that I can harbor all of these things that are coming out of me and I'm clean. But yet, because, hey, you drove drunk one time, you're a degenerate, basically. And look, because you did that, Daniel, you haven't changed. You're probably going to do it again.
Wow.
I can't trust you. You're a degenerate. You have no respect for authority in the law, and you broke it one time, you're going to break it again. No. See, but that's what happens, and that's why we get in tricky positions, man. That's one reason I don't even get into my testimony, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Rock on. But see, so many times people then fixate on that instead of the gospel.
Yeah.
And then they say, oh, well, he was a wayward soul. Well, so are you. So is everyone. And we got to start working on that. And that's the kind of stuff where we divide it. We divide it right there, and as soon as that happens, the gospel's lost.
Yeah. Then
it's about your sin and, oh, not my sin. Oh, well, I've heard people before. I've had conversations where people say, well, there's sin and all this, but I don't drive drunk. Out of all things I do, I would never do that. And as soon as you say that, you have set yourself up to say, my sin is okay. But the sin that I see in you, it's not okay.
That's it.
And that drives me insane.
Oh, yeah.
That actually bring me to the point where I'm willing to lock horns with somebody.
That's where the drama comes in. Everybody loves the juicy stuff, and they love to hear about the juicy. And it's everybody. It's me too.
Well, sure.
I'm trying to fight that. That's why these reality shows are so popular, and why wrestling's been popular for years. And they've always got fussing and arguing and backstabbing, and that's why gun violent movies are so popular. And we all love criminal, novels and thrillers and all these movies. You can say you don't like any of this stuff, and then we're sitting here watching people kill each other, and we're kind of getting a little, oh yeah, he got revenge, oh man, they just killed his whole family, he's got to go slaughter the whole crew, or he's going into the store, or he's going into the school with a baseball bat because somebody beat his son up. You go get him, boy, you beat him up, you kill him, yeah, that's right, beat his head in. Yeah, that's what you hear. Everybody loves this stuff.
It's
the human thing. It's the
that
human
would have been
thing.
Cool to actually have on video.
I've done it. I've screamed football games. I've screamed at wrestling matches. I'm like, kill him, break his leg. Let's see the head roll off with the helmet still on it.
Right.
All this stuff. And it's inside of us. It's inside of us. We love this drama. But I'm just trying to get people focused on not me, trying to get people focused not on anybody else, no man. I'm trying to get them focused on Jesus Christ, because that is a relationship. It matters. It doesn't matter what other these people, whatever they're doing, whatever they're doing, whatever. They just don't. You can tell when somebody don't know the Lord, and you can tell when somebody does know the Lord. And sometimes you might not even know if they know the Lord. That's between them and the Lord. That's between them and the Lord.
We can see fruit, but we're going to be real surprised on Resurrection Day.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so excited that you're I don't know what to call it, your soliloquy. It was, I loved it. It opened up something that I wanted to talk about that I did. I looked at this and I was like, we ain't going to get to it. And then what you said, man, brought me to this one point, which if this is what we end on over time, it's awesome. Okay, another one you had recommended, Tomorrowland. Okay, before I get into talking about the movie with you, what you had said is basically, what are we feeding? That was the big question of the movie. See, you just said you have watched this stuff that has brought out the bad, where you're like, kill them, defeat, whatever, that the fall of man in you. That was the big question of that movie. That, remember when the guy, I guess he was kind of the architect of the whole thing, where he had said, we, through the media and everything, we presented the end of mankind to mankind to scare them straight. Like, we wanted people to see the demise of themselves, hoping that they would be so sickened by the demise that it would make them feed the good. Yeah. He said what we found was just the opposite, that everything that we gave them to dissuade them from evil actually made them want it even more. And they got a continual lust for it, which is what Paul said. They had a continual lust for sin, the fall of mankind. See, it doesn't the disgustingness should repel us with ourselves, but instead, because we're fallen, it attracts us.
Yeah.
And everything that you said.
What's going to happen next?
Y'all need to watch that movie, because the big question is this: are you feeding? And they made it like, which wolf are you feeding, the good one or the bad one? That's a real powerful point, because that's what I've always argued. Me and you can't leave out our individual Christian walk individually and then get together and do it together, because we hadn't done it individually. But if you would feed the good today and I would feed the good today, then when we came together, it would be feeding the good squared. Okay. But we have to do it in our individual life. You can't not do it in your individual life and think that it's going to happen. And that was what I drew from the movie Biblical. And I mean, I'd like to hear what you thought about it, because it's very interesting. And then the transportation and all that, and all that's in the Bible. But just the main big philosophical point, and it's what Jesus is saying: are you following me, or are you following Satan? Are you feeding the good wolf, or are you feeding the bad wolf? Are you taking in this stuff from society and actually wanting more of it, or is it sickening you to the point where you want to change yourself?
Yeah. That's pretty much what I got out of it. It's a really neat concept. I mean, it's actually the truth, really, if you look at it, because you see these bad things go on, and it's like everybody's just sitting around waiting for the next bad thing.
They want it, actually.
It's like it's almost the end of the world, and it's just like we're waiting for the end of the world. And you know, if and I know this is true because the evidence precedes itself with all these books they sell off the shelves when somebody writes something about the end of the world, and then these movies, you know, Apocalypse Now, or an asteroid hits the Earth, or whatever. I mean, they're the biggest. We're obsessed with the future. Yeah. Star Wars, all this stuff. We're obsessed with the future,
and we're obsessed with our own demise.
Yeah, that's the truth of it. A lot of Christians really get into it because they know that's when Jesus will be coming back.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's
sick.
We should be here in the now. Yeah, it really is. The Lord tells us in the gospel not to focus on the future. Today's has enough problems of its own.
That's right.
But we're supposed to be living in the here and now, today.
And we can feed the right wolf today.
Yeah.
We can feed the good. In your life, you can make the choice to feed the right thing. Another thing that I gleaned from that is interesting, that I don't want to get into now, but I want to throw it out and people to watch it and look at it. Because biblically, man, it's pretty neat. We see a couple instances of transportation where someone goes from one place to another without ever going the distance in between the two.
Yeah.
We see that quite a few times biblically. And science is kind of catching up with that, you know, that this movie looks into some of the science behind it. And I got really into Tesla, man, and what he was saying through frequencies and all that. But what is cool about it is you can't lose your brain. You have to go back to the Bible. But what trips people out is the Bible actually speaks about this kind of time travel issue, transportation. Something like that, you know, and then Ezekiel disappearing, Enoch disappearing, you know, I mean, so
Jesus just appears in the room.
He does.
Actually transforms himself and walks with these guys for miles. They don't even know who they're speaking with until the kind of says the shingles fall off their eyes. That's or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he talks to Paul on the way to Damascus, on the Damascus road, you know, in a light.
Yeah.
And then he vanishes.
I mean,
you know, it's just kind of.
What we do is we fanaticize stuff like that instead of looking at it through the Bible. I mean, there is no doubt. If you ask me today, do you believe in transportation? Yes, because the Bible speaks about it. Philip and the eunuch, he said he came up and he was in a different place.
Yeah.
Happened to Ezekiel.
I forgot about him. He wasn't even.
It happened to Ezekiel, where he went to the river and he was just there all of a sudden. I mean, Enoch disappeared. I mean, you have a lot of instances of this, but it doesn't lean not on your own understanding. See, we're not supposed to figure it out, but we're supposed to look at God and see that there is things that we can't fathom, that he can do anything. And if you don't believe that he could take you from point A to point B without ever passing the distance between the two, I question if you believe in God, because, well, you think something's impossible for him.
Yeah. He's amazing.
I mean, he can raise the dead. It doesn't mean he's going to do it just when you want. But if you think, well, I don't think he could raise the dead. Well, what? Well, I don't think that he could transport me. I don't think that is possible. You're limiting God.
Yeah. And that's comes with not knowing the scriptures, and you don't know Christ. You really don't. You don't really. You say you believe, but you really don't.
He's exciting, brother.
He is. It's a whole lot more than any movie. It's the real truth, and it blows my mind. It's
really cool.
And I'm looking so forward to what he has for us in eternity.
Me too.
I mean, it's just going to be something I think we can't even fathom possibility at all whatsoever. It's going to be so amazing, and it just it's just gonna. I mean, these bodies ain't gonna be able to handle it. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what kind of body we will have.
Do you think that the worm can fathom what he's going to become as a butterfly when he goes into that cocoon?
That's true.
I mean, do you think really he's thinking, I'm going to come out of this thing flying?
Beautiful butterfly flying around.
He goes in a worm and he comes out flying all around in grace and beauty. And
that's simple compared to what he's going to have in store for us. What he has in store for us.
That's not even.
Oh, it's not even touching it.
That's like
it's going to be great.
That's like eating an old stale pack of nabs. You know what I mean?
It's he's amazing.
You got something on your heart you want to read?
No. I'm done. I mean, that's pretty much it for me. Well, I was going to end with the heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. We've talked about it. We've talked about it, but it's all about his word and just getting in there and can't stress it enough. And I'm going to keep on stressing it.
He said the truth will set you free, and the word is the truth. That's the sword of the Spirit, man.
You gotta know it.
There's nothing as Christians, what our job is. It's like Paul said, I just read it this morning, man. He said, I'm compelled to preach the gospel. There is nothing else but the gospel. If we would do our job, man, as believers in Christ and proclaim this truth and this gospel, everything else would take form. But we've neglected the stronger teachings in the gospel to go run around like chickens with our heads cut off, and then the world doesn't know the truth of the gospel.
Yeah,
we got to get back on the slip and slide and keep on the gospel and not get off of it for a second, because as soon as we do, we lost our brains.
And have that relationship with him, and don't take the easy route. It's always the easy route. We talked about this before we got on here about, when you're a teenager, you don't want to do the book report. So you either, if they've made a movie about it, you go watch the movie, or you get the Cliff Notes. And what we've done, instead of actually reading the Word, because we're lazy, instead of actually having that relationship with Christ and getting into His Word like He tells us to do. If you abide in my Word, you abide in me.
Yeah.
If you abide in me, you'll know my Word.
Right.
If instead of doing that, we go and get it secondhandly from somebody else, and this someone else is a man. That's all I have to say.
I love that point, and I got to open it up a little bit. I know we're trying to shut it down.
I mean,
but that's actually what drives me nuts. We've been talking about these movies, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, we've both seen them, so we can talk about it. What drives me nuts is when you're sitting talking to someone that hasn't seen the movie, and they're acting like they did.
Yeah.
How annoyed would you get with me if you told me to watch these movies and I told you that I did, but I just read a lame review about them on some website. Then I come and I sit down here with you and I act like I've watched those movies, and you say, well, what'd you think about that part there? And you can tell that I don't know at all what you're talking about.
Yep.
And I make something out of context that I haven't seen from some review, and I tell you, well, dude, you would get so annoyed with me. You'd be like, dude, you didn't watch the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we are with people that don't read the Bible, but yet they think that they know what the Bible says, but they've never seen the movie. It drove me nuts. I didn't read too many books in high school, but if I didn't read them, I wouldn't sit there in class and be wanting to talk about something I didn't read.
I never rose my hand.
I would just hide back and hope they didn't call on me.
Just read my report. I watched the movie.
Like 1 or 2 times I did read the book. I couldn't shut up. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it.
I remember the old Congo.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you read it, you actually want to engage in it. If you don't, but man, there was people in the classes that didn't read it and they wanted to fake like they did. They had read a little bit of the thing, and they always were made to look silly. The teacher always knew, and we as evil humans, I can tell when someone hadn't read it, and I start talking about it, and I'm like, well, have you seen the movie? And then because they're ashamed, they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah. What's your favorite book? Oh, the Bible. No, the book in the Bible. Which one is your favorite? There's 66 of them. Oh, I like Psalms. Oh, cool. Yeah.
What psalm feeds you?
Yeah.
Oh, the one about where David wrote it. I mean, and I'm not making fun of like that, but it should shame you so much.
This is eternity.
We can't.
I mean, really, this is life, and this is eternity, and we're just blowing it off like it's some other book, or blowing it off like some other movie, or whatever.
If we haven't seen the movie,
in this example,
the Bible, just be honest and say, I don't know, I hadn't read it.
Yeah, just be honest.
You know,
and say that to the Lord. Oh gosh, this is too hard. I can't read it. I've heard that so many times. I used to say that. And then it's still hard.
And then the same people.
I'm like, oh, this is my life.
But they understood Mad Max.
This is God. This is eternity.
That was one of the most complicated movies I've seen, and I guarantee you I know. I followed Mad Max. If you can follow Mad Max, you can understand the Bible.
If you can just follow life, you can understand the Bible. Because that's what it is. Saying? It's hardcore. Life is hardcore. Things happen in life, and we don't understand why. And get into the Word and know why. All the answers are not there into life, but yes, really they are, because we're supposed to be focused on eternal things and not temporary things. So anytime anything goes bad, it's good to go to a brother or sister that know the Lord, but not fully relying on that brother or sister for the answers to everything that God's supposed to personally tell you. Personally tell you. He wants a personal relationship with you. He wouldn't have died on the cross if he didn't care personally for you personally. He didn't die just for me so I could go spread the gospel.
And Daniel, in this example,
or anybody else,
isn't that exactly like when I would go to school in English class? I had not read the book, and the girl sitting in front of me, I'm not going to say her name, but she was friends, and she would always help me out, and I would say, hey, what was this book about?
Yeah.
And she would tell me enough just to help me in case the teacher did call on me to where I didn't look stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I never understood. Like, I didn't get it, but she had read it. She understood what it said. I didn't. Isn't that what we're doing when we go to someone and we're like, hey, I don't want to actually read the book, but will you tell me enough about it to keep me from looking stupid if someone calls on me?
And what it really, and what that really boils down to is, can you tell me enough about it to where I'm saved, and when God calls on me, I go to heaven and not hell? And you are, that's bad. Well, that's bad. That is, you're on your way.
Wasn't my issue that I didn't want to learn, but I wanted her to learn for me and impart that to me so I didn't have to do any of the things that she did?
Yeah.
Isn't that exactly what we do with our relationship with him? Hey, I don't want to actually follow Jesus. I just want you to tell me about how to do it so I don't have to actually read or do or give anything to this.
Welcome to the American church. That's it.
I got nothing. I'll leave it on that.
Yeah, that's it.
Say it again.
Welcome to the American church. Well, I don't have to do anything. I just rely on somebody else to do it for me, and that's enough relationship that I have with my Jesus. Not the Jesus, my Jesus.
That's exactly what the Pharisees did, that Jesus came to preach everything against. Say it again.
I don't know if I can. It's scary.
One more time. And
it's dangerous.
3 times. A lot of times in the Bible, they'll say three times to make
That's the American church. To have the Jesus that we want. The Jesus that's there, that we can go listen to somebody else tell about him, and then that's all the relationship we need, and that's our good deed. And we can present to everyone else that we went to church Sunday. Oh, where do you go to church? Where do you go to church? Oh, you just said you love Jesus. Where do you go to church?
It's where there's, like I've pointed out, there's
it should be, oh, you love Jesus? What book are you reading?
And shouldn't it be like, oh, you are the church?
Yeah.
You are the
church.
There's no...
Guess what? I'm a believer too. Where are you reading at? What's
he doing in your heart?
What's he doing in your life?
What's going wrong? What's going right? What are you seeing? You know, it's
scary.
Like, hey, I don't want to read this book or have anything to do with knowledge, but I want the girl in front of me to tell me what the book is about, so I'm covered.
And then walk right out of class and not think nothing about it. Friday and 2 more days. Got 2 more days to Friday. That's all I'm worried about.
Everybody's working for the weekend, man.
On Sunday, got 1 more hour and we're going to lunch. Hey, where you want to go to lunch at? Mexican restaurant? Or you want to hit Elizabeth's? Or where you want to go?
And
pizza or you want chicken? I wish he would hurry up so we could get to the chicken house.
And let's be honest, they're not doing that because they don't want to. We're all so miserable with our lives that we're looking to gratify our flesh so we don't feel so lousy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jesus got a way that really works, and that's where I'm going to leave it for my part. He has a way that works way better than pizza or anything I've ever eaten. And I get all that. I understand that we want to take in stuff to make ourselves feel better about the fact that we hate our life and ourselves and everything that's going on. But he's got a way.
The only way.
And it really works. And the truth
will
set you free.
That's it.
I'm going to leave it on that.
He's our maker.
Truth will set you free. I'm going to make you say it one more time because I want to end on that. Like you say it and then let's just cut it.
All right.
I know it's crazy, but it's really good.
It's scary. It scares me. It really does.
It does.
Because I believed that way for 30 years. And that's what drew me away.
Now we can't do it. I set it up too much.
I just don't want to have, I really didn't have nothing, I didn't want to have anything to do with Jesus because of that.
Right.
I base my relationship on their relationship, on everyone else's relationship with somebody else that was having a relationship with Christ or said that they had a relationship with Christ. It's crazy.
It is, man.
It's a personal relationship. And it takes work like any relationship.
It does, man.
And if you don't want to put in the time that he gave you, I mean, he gives you this time. He gives the time for us. Why else are we here? Why else are we here? Why? To work? How many times do we have to say this, Brad? Gosh, we've been over it 100 times. To work, to get cash, so we can have a house, fine cars, and fancy homes. Is that why we're here? And then we just die?
And man,
and 3 generations from now, they don't even know Grandpa.
And then what people...
I think his name was Daniel. Where'd he work? I don't know. His tombstone's right over there. We see it in the family cemetery. Actually, they cremated him because it's a lot cheaper now.
And isn't it this? People hear that and say, well, he's saying just to lay around and drink lattes all day. Hey, anybody that doesn't believe in work, come and work a day with me and ask me if I work.
Yeah.
So you will work, but you're not seeking the work. You're not going after that. You're going after him. And then he works like a dog through you and you'll get all the work done.
Real. The meaning of life.
You know.
It's either you want to know it or you just don't give a crap.
That's right.
I want to leave it on that.
I do too.
The meaning of life. Either you really care or you just don't give a crap.